Again, man, my stance still stay the same when it comes to Tristen Keys. I don't think LSU fans should be getting excited about him being committed. I think he's playing the game right now, and not saying that he won't sign that national letter of intent with LSU, but I think it's far from over. Anytime you got a kid that's out of state and they don't have any real ties to LSU, you got to know that it's going to be up in the air if he's going to sign. So, Ole Miss, Bama, Texas A&M, all USC, these big time programs, man, they're gonna throw a blank check at him, and it's just gonna come down to, does he value LSU as wide receiver U, and can that supersede, what the NIL can offer him from other schools. Jabari Mack, I think he's pretty solid. I could see him, maybe taking an official visit or two to some other schools just to, go see some other things. But I think he's pretty solid. Kenneth Darby, though, man, I think he's one of the receivers that's committed to this class that even when Ja'Kai Anderson was committed, that people really didn't talk about. The receiver from Airline High School, I really, really like Kenneth Darby. I think that, he's someone that people don't really know a whole lot about because he's in the Shreveport, Louisiana area. They don't get the media coverage that South Louisiana gets. But if you get a chance, man, go check Kenneth Darby film out, man. Raw runner, high points, it plays taller than what his height is. I think he's like 5'11", 6 foot. Really, really good player, man. I think he's somebody that LSU fans need to really start paying attention to because he's going to be one of the better players in this class.
And keeping someone like Kenny home, it's always important to get the talent in the boot because you hear the Nick Sabans and all these different great coaches talking about shaking a tree in Louisiana and 4 or 5 stars, NFL calibers, wide receivers falling out of it. I think this is another one of those situations. With the Tristen Keys aspect, yeah, I'm gonna pump the brakes a little bit, at least for my excitement, because he got another visit this week, G. He's heading to Miami. They're gonna do the whole shebang, get him in the drop top, probably bring him with Rick Ross. And we know how Mario Cristobal's been working over there, dropping checks, doing what they gotta do. I'm a little worried though, because you got a lot more people in the mix than I would be comfortable with. And in this world of NIL, it ain't over till it's over. Matter of fact, even when you think it's over, even when signing day happens, it's still got a little bit of finagling that you could do. I think his final official visit could be at LSU, if I'm not mistaken. But if you had to pitch to Tristen Keys, what would you say? Is it a wide receiver U pitch? Is it a developmental pitch? Is it a, come over here and be with the coaching staff? What would you say to try to lock him in and make him not look otherwise?
Obviously, you could set a wide receiver you pitch to him all day and tomorrow. When you talk about the top receivers in the league, where they come from, LSU, Justin Jefferson, 1A, Jamar Chase, 1B. Brian Thomas emerging. He had over 1,000 yards this past season as a rookie. Malik Neighbors, a rookie, had over 1,000 yards as a rookie. For the Giants, that was a Pro Bowler. You go back and you talk about Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry. I can go on a Dwayne Bowe. I mean, we can go name for name when you talk about LSU. And we could talk about the developmental part. And I always talk about the opposite side of the ball when it comes to development when we talking about receivers, because it's just not so much about Cortez Hankton, getting them in the lab and working on the details of route running and knowing how to, be a real pure receiver as they get ready to go to the NFL. It's about going against the Derek Stingley's on the other side of the ball. It's about going against the Christian Fultons on the other side of the ball. It's about going against the Patrick Petersons on the other side of the ball. It's about going against DJ Pickett every day in practice on the other side of the ball. That's what gets you prepared for the NFL, bro. That's what sharper iron, as cliche as it might sound, and that's what made Jamar Chase and Terrence Marshall and Justin Jefferson so good. It was going against a top 5 pick, and it was going against somebody in Christian Fulton who went second round, who could have been a first round pick, but he had some durability issues. So when you're going against guys like that, Cordell Flott, like, it was going against some really good ballers. When you're going against guys like that, bro, you only gonna get better. And I think that's what Tristen Keys got to think about. When he started trying to decide if he wants to explode, not being an LSU Tiger, and then the national brand. We all know there's not too many college programs in the country that could brand their athlete like LSU. You saw what they did with Kyron Lacy last year. He turned into a household name. And this is something that's gonna continue on and on and on. And so I just think Tristan Keys needs to think about that. But again, money talking, bullshit walk. So we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. That's the worrisome part here in the situation. They got another prospect here that I think will be visiting LSU soon. Another one of those situations. You're competing with a lot of people, blank checks, great institutions, obviously, but Emmanuel Iheanacho, five-star offensive tackle, number 3 overall prospect in the country. Look, this will be huge for Brad Davis and Brian Kelly. They've been developing and getting in studs at the offensive line, whether it be tackle, guard, center, whatever the case may be. I feel like this is another one of those spots that you have to look towards if you're in that position. But now you're competing with Oregon. And everybody's got their crystal ball, and it's getting less and less valuable, or kind of less and less credible, rather, because it is hard to say, hard to predict, especially at this point. I mean, we're literally sitting here in May, early June. You really don't know what he could do. But what do you think about that potential recruit, that blue chip? You think that they're going to be able to somehow sway his decision from the Ducks, or is that one going to be a little too tough?
When you talk about this situation, I don't know the dynamics between his relationship with Brad Davis or anybody on his staff. Um, that's gonna play a part when you start trying to get somebody to come that far away from home. They're gonna have to have some comfortability with being far and having people on that staff that they feel comfortable with. I just don't. I'm not really too familiar with this situation with this particular recruit. But I mean, Brad Davis does a great job recruiting. I'm pretty sure his family's gonna love the way Brad Davis approaches uh showing them how he plans on taking care of their son over the next 3 to 4 years if he decides to come. When you talk to people like Will Campbell, he said that Brad and him had a relationship outside of football, and I think that's always key. And
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure they're gonna get him on the phone with Will Campbell and Emory Jones and Frazier and Dellinger and guys like that. And then you got people that's returning like DJ Chester and Mabinga and guys like that who played Tyree Adams. They're gonna be able to, communicate to him and let him know that look, Brad is a really really good coach, and he's going to develop you as well. And so if they can get him signed and delivered, tell us you man, the future is bright in Baton Rouge. Because Weston Davis got to come back next year. Tyree Adams got to come back next year. DJ Chester got to come back next year. Mabinga got to come back next year. Like they got a lot of guys that have SEC experience playing that got to come back. And so to have him in the fold, bro, that'll be huge for him. So we're gonna see.